Hello and welcome to the all-new, all-different number one comics podcast, issue number 96. Bob, that's volume 1, issue 96. So close to 100. I can almost taste it. It's right there. It's in your face, Bob. 100.
Close to a new volume.
I can't believe it. We're so old, Bob. On the all-new, all-different number one comics podcast, we are a weekly comic book podcast. Each and every episode, we take a look at a brand new first issue comic book, newly released. We break it down, Bob, all the way down. We talk about the story, the beats, the art, the character designs. You should move on to issue number 2. All of those things that we do here on the all-new, all-different number one comics podcast. We also talk comic book news, even when that exists. We talk new books that are in shops this week, as well as what's coming up next week. So you got the upper hand here, and you know, going in, what books to pick out for next week. You got my picks, you got Bob's picks, you got them all. By the way, I am one of your co-hosts, Dan. That's the other co-host, Bob. Say hello, Bob.
Hello, Bob.
You know, I did it a little bit backwards this week, but that's okay. I got all the information in there.
I mean, I got to introduce myself, so I'm happy.
Right? And I'm happy that you're happy. Bob, speaking of introducing things, I'm going to leave this one all up to you because as you know, and I'll throw this out there, there's a few things that Bob's well known for. And those things include stuff like Star Wars, Transformers, and a little franchise called G.I. Joe. But Bob, please tell them what book we're covering this week.
So this week we're covering the all-new number 1 from Skybound /Image. I have to add Image in.
That's
we have G.I. Joe number 1. Yes, the All-American Heroes are back.
Go, Joe! Yeah, man, I can't believe it. We've done, parts of the mini-series. We've done Transformers. Of course, this is all part of the larger Energon universe here.
Yep.
And we finally got our team book in G.I. Joe issue number 1. Bob, I'm pretty damn excited to talk about this one. I think you probably are too.
So am I.
But before you get too excited, let's take a quick break and we'll come back and talk some comic book news. Hey, and we're back with the all-new, all-different number one comics podcast, issue number 96. Bob, it is time to talk comic book news.
Is it James Gunn dominated?
No, I don't think there's any James Gunn news this week. Screw that guy.
Wow.
Yeah. We're going indie. We're going, I don't know, we're going all over the place. But first and foremost, one of the things that I want to talk about, Bob, that I am actually really, really excited about, I want to get your thoughts on this one. I'm sure you've seen this headline at least, but Brian K. Vaughan, that's right, one of my favorite writers in the entire world because he writes a little comic book called Saga. I don't know if you've heard of it, but damn, it's a good comic, Bob.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. Brian K. Vaughan of Saga fame is going to be doing a reboot of the 1956 sci-fi classic Forbidden Planet for Warner Brothers.
I have heard of this.
Bob, I'm so excited. I'm so excited, and I just can't hide it. This is going to be great, Bob. Wow. Can you imagine Brian K. Vaughan on Forbidden Planet?
So, have they said officially if this is going to be live action?
No, I haven't seen any official statement. And honestly, when I first read the headline, I thought that we were just talking a comic, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, when I first saw this piece of news, I thought the same exact thing. I'm like, is he writing a...
Yeah, it's almost like, okay, cool, but I don't know how this is news. But yeah, now I'm seeing, okay, this is why this is like big news. So very, very cool. Bob, are you familiar with Forbidden Planet? Have you watched Forbidden Planet?
I'm vaguely familiar with it. I have not watched a lot of it.
Well, I know you're familiar with the movie poster. It's got that crazy,
oh yeah,
dude holding the pretty lady, I don't know, space guy. I don't know what you call it, like a Martian, whatever, alien guy in the spacesuit. Spacesuit, I don't know, whatever. Super cool. Yeah, I'm just so excited, man. I don't even know what else to say. It's going to be cool. I'm really excited about this.
If it is live action, they need to get Joe Johnston. I mean, he's with period pieces. He does a really good job at it. I mean, he did the Rocketeer. He did Captain America: The First Avenger.
Mm-hmm.
So he does his period pieces very well.
Yeah, man, this is just going to be great. I'm just so excited about it. Next up, Bob, Sophie Turner from Game of Thrones is likely to portray Lara Croft in the Amazon TV series of Tomb Raider. Now, this is just likely to play. I don't know, like this is
right.
This could or possibly could not happen. So I don't know. Cool, I guess. I don't know. I'm kind of like pretty lukewarm on Tomb Raider, to tell you the truth. I had a little fun, like kind of dabbling in that game, in the late 90s or whenever it was. Like it wasn't a problem. Like it was fun. Right. I think that the Angelina Jolie movies were okay. And then there was like some kind of reboot that happened like more recently.
Yeah.
I never watched any of those. Did you?
Yes, I did watch the reboot. It wasn't bad. I mean, I'm not, I never played the Tomb Raider game, so if there was a lot of backstory in it, if the movie was faithful to the games, then I would have no idea. But it wasn't bad.
Cool. Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll see if this one's any different or whatever. I just wonder how much there is there to like pull from. I don't know. I guess we'll see. Bob, we've got some Nova news. Head of Marvel TV, Brad Wilderbaum, I guess is that Winderbaum?
Yes.
Confirmed the Nova series is in development for the MCU, and that preliminary reports regarding the pre-production are something. I don't know. I don't even know what that says, but yeah, this is happening. So we're in pre-production here. Nova, super cool. Are you a big Nova fan? I've never read much about Nova, to tell you the truth. I have Nova's first appearance, of course, and Nova #1 and all of that, but I don't know a whole lot about Nova.
I think pretty much everybody has Nova's first appearance.
Mm-hmm. Good book to have,
yeah. And it's not, a book that's very, very, ungainable. I haven't read a lot about Nova. I've read more about Richard Rider than I have Sam Alexander. Richard Rider being the OG Nova, so he's been around since the 70s.
Yep.
The biggest thing I read about him was I started, really getting into the character in the Annihilation storyline.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, I think he's a really cool character. I thought they were going to introduce him in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1.
Yeah, I remember so many people thought that, yeah.
Yeah, especially since Xandar was featured so prominently.
Mm-hmm.
But this is one of those, he can say it's still on track, but I will believe it when I actually see it.
Well, and it kind of goes into some other news too, because it looks like, Brad has just answered a lot of these things in interviews or whatever. So, in another section of that, he said in an interview that Wonder Man will borrow heavily from the West Coast Avengers source material, which is fine. Kind of like another character. I mean, I have Wonder Man stuff. I don't have his first appearance, but
right.
I have. The first two like Wonder Man miniseries, and I have like some key appearances and stuff like that, and some of the West Coast Avengers stuff as well. But I don't know a whole lot about Wonder Man either. So yeah, not any character I've followed like super closely or anything like that. I'm interested to see what this is and what it turns out to be, especially given that they're going to borrow heavily from the West Coast Avengers stuff as opposed to some of Wonder Man's like other big appearances. I don't know. It should be interesting. Like it's almost like, are they going to do that and have him interact with like a lot of other characters or what?
Well, and that kind of leads into what I was reading yesterday about. I've heard a few sources say that the MCU is really maybe moving forward to the West Coast Avengers.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I've not heard that, but that is cool. I think that's a cool idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was reading a couple of things about it yesterday, and the sources I was reading, now again, take this with a grain of salt, were saying that the seeds could be planted in the as early as the upcoming Vision Quest TV series.
Oh, very cool. I wonder what the team we would be talking about, like what West Coast. I mean, there's so many people that have been on the West Coast Avengers. Like, I'm trying to like go through the list. Like, obviously, we got Wasp, we got Scarlet Witch, Tigra, Vision's been on there, Mockingbird, of course, Wonder Man and Iron Man. One of my favorites, Darkhawk, Bob. Darkhawk's been on there. So
really,
yeah, and
is it gonna explode? Is Darkhawk #1 gonna explode in popularity again?
I certainly hope so. I'd love to, make some money off of some of those. Firebird's been on there. I know Hank Pym's been on there, and the Human Torch. I'm trying to think of Julia Carpenter, Living Lightning. Living Lightning.
Course, of course, Hawkeye, who pretty much founded the team. You had War Machine for. I think he was only on it for like maybe the first 4 issues, and then Tony Stark took over.
Yeah. We had U.S. Agent on there too, and the Thing. And we're forgetting a big one, Bob. Moon Knight was on there for a minute.
Oh yeah, that's right. Moon Knight was on there.
Yeah. I think the current team is it's both the Hawkeyes and America Chavez and Jeff the Shark is on there, the Land Shark, and then there's like a couple of other people I can't remember. Gwenpool's on there, and somebody else. I don't know. I'm not like, I haven't religiously followed any of that, but yeah, just super interesting what they might do with Wonder Man. I think that there's like a lot of possibilities, and knowing that they're borrowing from that, and then like you said, going into the West Coast Avengers, that sounds really interesting. I'm really hoping they revive Moon Knight from the series and bring him into the movies and stuff. That would be so cool. I'd be really, really into that. How about? Sorry, go ahead.
And I mean, Oscar Isaac has already been in movies, so I mean, they know they have a fairly well-known movie star.
Yeah, and Oscar Isaac's no joke, man. That guy can act. He's good.
Yeah.
So I think seeing him up on the big screen would be no problem at all. And speaking of all of that, the last little bit of what Brad said in some interviews was that he believes that Punisher has a future in beyond the Daredevil series. So I don't know what that means exactly, where they might use Punisher, but hopefully somewhere. What, Bob, can we get Punisher and Spider-Man 4? Can we get like a nice, amazing Spider-Man 129 little thing going on? That would be great.
You mean as opposed to that, that I guess you would call it a retroactive cameo by the Punisher in the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie.
Oh man, love that movie. God.
Where he was walking, where a guy in a long jacket, just like Frank Castle's, was walking by a water fountain, and it came out. Oh yeah, that's supposed to be Punisher.
Oh yeah, definitely as opposed to that. Bob, we got some reveals from Marvel today. They revealed their 2025 free comic book day titles. So some of the ones that are coming out are Fantastic Four / Giant Size X-Men by Ryan North, Colin Kelly, Jackson Lansing, and Chip Zdarsky.
That's going to be one comic?
Yeah. I don't know if it's like a flip book or what, because the cover art that's been released has Fantastic Four on the cover there. Maybe the opposite side has the Giant Size X-Men. Not too sure.
Yeah, possibly.
We're getting an Amazing Spider-Man / Ultimate Universe. This is Joe Kelly, Denez Camp, and Cody Ziegler. It's got your favorite artist, John Romita Jr. on there. So, yeah. I'll be quiet. We've got a Star Wars Free Comic Book Day 2025 book. Alex Segura, Charles Soule, and Mark Guggenheim.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
That's a really good trio.
Right? That's a good team on that book. It's celebrating the new era of Star Wars comics. Luke Skywalker finds himself in a wretched hive of scum and villainy facing off against pirates, Jedi Knights, Quinn, John, Jin, and some other people are on the hunt for. You know what? I'm going to stop reading. But yeah, there's stuff happening there. Bob, I can't even begin to say these names. Yeah, it looks like all of these are like kind of 2-in-1s, other than the Star Wars one, because the next one is Ironheart / Marvel Voices.
All right.
Yeah, that should be an interesting one. We've also got Iron Man and his awesome friends / Spidey and his amazing friends. So one of those all ages, Disney Junior books. Super cool. Yeah, so those are Marvel's Free Comic Book Day books. How about some DC news, Bob? I know you've been waiting for DC. I've been talking about Marvel. There's been a whole bunch of Marvel stuff this news segment so far. So, Bob, everywhere it has been announced that DC is saying that Absolute Batman is the best-selling comic book of 2024. And I guess they're saying this by, again, it's only Tuesday, November 19th right now, so there's still some comic books that come out this year, but DC is saying there is absolutely no way that anybody beats it.
I was going to say, and that's nuts considering it's pretty much the end of 2024. Wow.
Yeah, I can't believe it. Very interesting. Another free comic book day book, and I think you're going to be excited about this one, Bob. We've got Thundercats versus Powerpuff Girls in a Dynamite title.
Thundercats versus Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah, I mean, how does that even play out? Who wins? Like, what's going to happen? I'm loving the cover. You can't see it, but it's paying homage to that first Thundercats #1 cover, but it's got the Powerpuff Girls there. Super, super cool.
I was going to say that is very interesting. I can definitely see the Powerpuff Girls loving Snarf.
Yeah, I feel you. It's like in the end, they're all going to be best friends. Like there's no way that any of this turns out bad for anybody involved. I don't think. Maybe just the bad guys, But yeah, even that I'd love to see. So very, very cool. Bob, the Batman 2 gets an unfortunate update from James Gunn. There it is, Bob. I brought you James Gunn news. I knew you wanted it. I knew James Gunn
was involved somehow. I mean, You can't have a news day without James Gunn anymore.
I couldn't wrap it up without James Gunn. So the Batman 2 has just been hit with some bad news. DC Studios co-CEO James Gunn has revealed that the script for the hotly anticipated DC sequel is not finished, despite reports stating otherwise. Back in September, the Batman director-writer Matt Reeves, who is returning for the sequel, shared with Entertainment Weekly that the script had officially been finished ahead of the movie's 2025 filming start date. Unfortunately, during a recent exchange with a fan on the social media platform Threads, Gunn dismissed the EU reports, claiming that it was well-intentioned but mistaken, adding that everyone at DC Studios is very much looking forward to reading the Batman 2 script when Reeves and the co-writer Matt Tomlin were finished with it. Yeah, man, I sadly don't care. We all know how I feel about the Batman movie. It was impossible to watch.
I was gonna say I'm not shedding any tears over that piece of news.
And can I say this? Look, maybe James Gunn is just like, hey, we need to get a really, really good lighting team in here so people can actually see the movie. And I'm going to agree with James Gunn on that. Let's get some lighting. Let's see the movie because it's impossible to watch, man. That's like, if you want to go to sleep, turn that movie on, and you'll just fall asleep like a baby.
Right. If you want to see anything good about the Batman movie, just watch The Penguin on Max.
Yeah, there you go. Bob is definitely a cheerleader for the Penguin show. It says it's really good. I still haven't checked it out, Bob. Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah, and I'm really interested to see what you think, considering, I know all about how you feel about the Batman and how many times you've tried to watch the Batman and not been able to get through it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all true. You're not wrong there. I think that's about all the news I have for us, Bob, unless you have anything that you want to say that I left out.
I got nothing.
Very good. Then we will take another quick break and we'll be back to talk about new comic books on shelves this week. Hello and welcome. That's a word. Hello and welcome back to issue number 96 of the all new, all different #1 comics podcast.
Words are hard.
Bob, they're really hard for me. I don't even know what I'm saying right now. So let's talk about some new comics that are in shops this very week. Of course, we are talking November 13th, that week. Sorry. We just talked about Absolute Batman. So, Bob, how about Absolute Batman #2 in shops this week? This has the introduction of Absolute Harvey Dent, Absolute Riddler, Absolute Selena Kyle, and Absolute Penguin. Bob, they got your boy in there. The Penguin's in the book. Hope you picked up a copy.
Absolutely.
Nice pun. I like it. Bob, we've got Absolute Batman Noir Edition #1, a black and white reprint of Absolute Batman #1. Now, here's a funny story, side note, tangent, really quick. This past weekend, I went to Orlando.
Okay.
And of course, we're a peek behind the curtain. We're recording this on Tuesday, the 19th. New Comic Book Day was Wednesday, the 13th. So we're a little behind this week, but that's okay. We'll get the episode out. And, so during the weekend, New Comic Book Day had already passed and all that, obviously.
Yeah.
So while in Orlando, I have my couple of spots that I really just got to hit. There's Gods and Monsters out in Orlando. I don't know if you've ever been there. It's a really, really cool comic book shop. More like a pop culture shop, but they obviously focus on comics, have tons and tons of comics, statues, toys, all that kind of stuff, games. They have the coolest bar I've ever seen in my life, and it's kind of hidden in the back. Really, really cool place. Anyways, stop by Gods and Monsters if you're in Orlando. You got Living Dead Comics, which is just like a traditional comic book store that kind of focuses on horror stuff. Really, really cool place. And then just outside of Orlando, Bob, you have this place called Acme Superstore. Have you ever heard of it?
Acme Superstore. Yeah, I've actually been there. If it's the same one I'm thinking about, I can't remember exactly where it was, but Yeah, I've been there before, and if it's the same place, that place is huge.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. How you identify it is how large it is. So, yeah, that is, I mean, Superstore is an understatement. That place is gigantic. Lots and lots of keys all wrapped around the walls and everything. I mean, there's so many books in there, so many books.
Mm-hmm.
And so I stopped in there. That was my last stop on the way home. And I said, I got to stop by Acme, grab some stuff. I grabbed some books, grabbed a nice little stack, some minor keys, stuff like that. Nothing too crazy. And I was talking with one of the employees, and I said, just because they had so many Absolute Batman #2s, I'm always in the market for a book that's going to make me some money. So I got my couple of copies of Absolute Batman #1 already. So I said, hey, you happen to have any other Absolute Batman #1s back there? And he goes, no. And he said, dude, we sold out of those like instantly. And I said, wow, a big shop like you? And he said, yeah, absolutely. And I said, okay. And I asked him, I said, you guys pull any back for grading or anything? He said, nope. The only time we do that, is if after the week is over, we want to grade a couple. But yeah, these were all gone. He said, dude, I didn't even get a copy of the book. And I said, wow. And then he goes, it was really funny because he goes, man, I'm going to tell you something. I didn't get a copy, but from what I've heard from everybody is that book is really poorly written and it's horrible. and then he said, I am so much more interested in Absolute Wonder Woman #1. I heard that book is so good. And I said, dude, that book is metal. That is a very, very good book. Really great start off to the Absolute stuff. And I was like, I wouldn't call the Absolute Batman horrible, but it's Batman. You got to be into Batman, and I'm not. So, But yeah, just a funny story that somebody else out there, kind of shares that same thing. They don't get caught up in all the hype of just, Batman all the time. So, very interesting. For Marvel Comics, we got Amazing Spider-Man 61, the debut of Doom-inspired Batman suit. The beginning of the 8 deaths of the Batman. Wow.
Bazinga.
Yeah, I'm not even going to edit this out, Bob. I'm just going to leave it in. The beginning of the 8 deaths of Spider-Man story arc. Wow. And
Batman's already died more than 8 times.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, you're not wrong. And we have the first appearance of Centros, a scion of I tried to say this last time and I have no clue. It's the Juggernaut people. What are they called?
Sidorak.
Sidorak. There we go. Yeah. So yeah, that's all in there. Bob, we got Arcbound #1. This is a Dark Horse book. It's co-written by Tom Hardy. It is, in a future where a corporation mines what's left of a barren Earth, a high-level soldier gets a message from a mysterious entity that makes him question what it truly means to be human in a world where the boundaries of technology and identity blur. Sounds like a cool book, actually. I'm really excited to read that one. I can't remember who the other co-writer is, but the other actual writer is what I'm going to say because it's like a big writer on this book. It is Scott Snyder. So, yeah, it says co-written by Tom Hardy. I think probably Scott Snyder had a little more to do with it, but I don't know.
Probably.
Bob from DC Comics, Batman and Robin, issue 15, the first full appearance of Memento. We also got Black Lightning #1, the first team appearance of New Masters of Disaster. Just sounds like a wrestling team from the 80s, the Masters of Disaster.
There may have been, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'd be super surprised if there wasn't.
I think there were the Master Blasters, if I'm remembering my wrestling history correctly. Wow. Either that or I'm remembering Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
It all applies. It's fine. Bob from Steve Orlando over at Marvel Comics. Steve Orlando is the 2099 guy. Conquest 2099, issue #3. First appearance of the White Widow 2099. Steve over there doing his thing as always, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Bob, we've got from Boom Studios Power Rangers Prime #1, a bold new era featuring a brand new cast of characters. I've not read mine yet. I'm super excited to. I love Power Rangers. You already know.
Yeah.
We've from Marvel, we've got Psylocke #1. Psylocke's back with her own series. This series will introduce a villain named the Taxonomist. I'm scared already.
So he basically collects people and stuffs them?
I mean, maybe. And if that is true, I'm just really scared of that. I don't know. It sounds horrifying, Bob.
Either that or he audits people, which auditing superheroes, that would be very scary because superheroes battling supervillains do a lot of damage.
True. Yeah, you're not wrong. And I assume they're not keeping up with the books very well. They're just kind of out there doing it. Somebody's got to be behind the scenes filing their taxes. You're right. But I wonder if you can write off like costumes and stuff. I guess you can, if you're a superhero.
I mean, it is, it is work related.
It's an expense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Huh. Yeah.
Bob, something I know you're really excited about. We've got the first appearance of Red Ghost in Star Wars Ewoks #2. Hooray. Ewoks, your favorite race of alien creatures. We got from Marvel Comics, we got Ultimate X-Men issue #9, the full introduction of the Ultimate Daken in the mainstream Marvel universe, referred to as the first Homo Superior, cameoed in Ultimate X-Men issue 6. We also got Venom 39. One of the variant covers has the first cover appearance of an all-new Venom suit. And Bob, last up from IDW, Yars Rising #1, a prequel to the Atari video game of the same name. I'm not familiar with that game. I don't know if you are, but
I'm not either. I haven't heard of it.
Yeah, I don't know what the heck Yars Rising is, but it's something, I would assume. Those are the new books that dropped this week in local comic shops. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back to talk about G.I. Joe #1. Bob, we are back with the all-new, all-different #1 Comics podcast, issue number 96, to talk all about the potatoes and potatoes of this episode. G.I. Joe #1 from Skybound Image Comics, part of the Energon universe. We've been following Energon from the beginning. Now it's come to this G.I. Joe team. Bob, this one's pretty cool. Let's go over the synopsis really quick from Skybound. Conrad, nope, not going to be able to say his last name. Hauser. Oh, yeah, definitely. Conrad Hauser, codenamed Duke, has assembled a special force known as G.I. Joe to battle the rising power of the mysterious Cobra in the aftermath of the Autobots and Decepticons' arrival on Earth. But the enigmatic Cobra Commander has unleashed the power of Energon like never before, featuring many familiar faces and the first appearance of an all-new character. This is the comic that will change everything you think you know about G.I. Joe. And that is only half of the surprises in store from the chart-topping Energon Universe dream team of Joshua Williamson and Tom Riley.
Boy, they really missed an opportunity. They missed an easy layup with that description. That was the description from Image?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Boy, they missed an easy layup considering this is G.I. Joe.
Give it to me, Bob. Come on. Can't leave the people in suspense.
So I can't remember exactly what it was, but they said the words half the... What was it? You just read it. It was half the... What was the rest of it?
Half the surprises in store.
That's right. So I know you're not a big G.I. Joe fan. Or at least you weren't a big G.I. Joe fan until we started reading these comics, starting with Duke and then Cobra Commander.
Mm-hmm.
But they always, at the end of every episode of the original TV series, they would always end with a PSA.
Oh, yeah. I am familiar with that happening.
Okay. So the PSAs, what to do if there's a fire, stay away from strangers, all that kind of stuff. And one of the Joes would say, or the kids would say, and now we know. And the Joe, whatever Joe it was doing that PSA would say, and knowing is half the battle.
Ah, yes.
So they missed such an opportunity to include half the battle in that description.
They could have done it. They should have done it.
I'm very disappointed. That was such an easy layup.
Agreed. Wow. Bob, this one's got, of course, as we already know, Joshua Williamson writing this book. Joshua Williamson has done a lot of things. The Flash, Birthright, Nailbiter, Captain Midnight, Superman, Ghosted, Green Arrow, Robin. Again, just go to some past episodes if you want to hear what Joshua Williamson has done. It's a lot.
I was going to say you could go on and on, but we've covered Joshua Williamson on a couple of other books so far. And, everybody knows how we feel about Joshua Williamson.
Yeah, completely agreed there. Bob, we've got Tom Riley on art. Of course, Tom Riley was on Duke already. He's done Ant-Man. He's done The Thing. He's done TMNT versus Street Fighter. Star Blazers, Immortal Hulk. I don't know. He's done stuff. We already know the guy. Jordy Belair on colors. We know Jordy very well. Russ Wooten on letters. So I'm going to go over my synopsis of the book really quick, Bob.
Oh, geez.
Could be a little disjointed. Buckle up is all I can say. G.I. Joe opens with an introduction to the G.I. Joe team. We meet Rock and Roll, Stalker, Cover Girl, Clutch, and Baroness as they train. Duke meets up with Hawk and tells him that they aren't ready, and if they were up against the enemy today, they'd be screwed. Over to Springfield, Destro talks with Cobra Commander and demonstrates a new Energon weapon. Over to Abu Dhabi. No, I can't say it. How do you say
Abu
that?
Dhabi.
Abu Dhabi. Sorry. Wow. Over to Abu Dhabi. A fight breaks out between two guys. The one with the upper hand tells the other not to sell to Mars Industries. Then over to the pit. Hawk and Duke talk about Duke's team, and Hawk tells Duke to let the team members be themselves, and that's what will make them great. The next morning, Duke rounds up the team and tells them that someone has broken into their research facility and stolen some Energon tech, including Mars. Duke explains that the Joe's mission is to protect the technology before it's taken to a more secure facility. Destro and Cobra discuss demonstrating the Energon weapons, killing everyone. Cobra attacks. The Joes split up into two teams while Duke leaps onto a Cobra helicopter. The Joes fight Cobra, and just as they have their guns drawn, Rock and Roll leaps in front, getting zapped with the Energon weapons, and the issue ends. Craziness.
Yeah, that must really hurt getting shot by pure Energon. Oof.
I just can't even imagine what happens here. What is going to happen in our next issue? I mean, obviously, you know these characters much better than me. You know Rock and Roll and what he's capable of withstanding or not. But wow.
Yeah, but I don't think anybody can withstand getting shot that many times by Energon. Last we saw of him in that last panel, yeah, he was looking like granted he was silhouetted, but he was looking like Swiss cheese.
Yeah. I don't know what this means. I assume something bad, but let's get into the story before we speculate anymore on what's going to happen in issue number 2. Bob, the beats in this thing. this thing chugs along. It beats in in the ways that it does. I would say the story beats are cool. I like the way that they flow. It does really remind me of like a 80s to early 90s like cartoon episode, especially like a first episode, an origin type of episode, getting a team together, and going through those trials and tribulations. And I like how Duke and Hawk have that conversation, and Hawk kind of tells him, hey, you got to let everybody be themselves. You got to use their, what you see as weaknesses and stuff as strengths and everything like that. I feel like that is such a cool message in there.
Yeah, and considering what they were going for in this, what Joshua Williamson was going for in this first issue, that actually made sense. That really made sense. I mean, early on, of course, Duke is unsure of himself, unsure of the people he's, unsure of his crew, so to speak. He's trying too hard to make everybody, just like him, basically. So, they had that heart to heart where, Hawk says, they don't need to be like you. They just need to be the best versions of themselves.
Yep. Yeah. But I like the way this flowed. I think that the beats worked really, really well. I think that the stinger was put in like a perfect spot, obviously. And the thing I really liked about it was it kind of came out of nowhere. There wasn't really a build up to it. I was not expecting that. You have a lot more insight than me on the characters and G.I. Joe and all of that. So what were your thoughts on the beats?
Well, the only part of the beats that kind of tripped me up just slightly, and I don't know how you felt about it, was that those panels we got in Abu Dhabi. It's kind of like, I don't know. To me, they kind of felt out of place.
I mean, I feel like, it's definitely going to be one of those things, it's going to circle back on issue 3 or something. And
I'm sure it is.
But yeah, in this standalone issue, it was, it served its purpose. Obviously, this guy is trying to stop the selling to Mars. And he's hopefully, working with the good guys and everything. But yeah, it was odd. It'll read better in trade than it does in a single issue, but
right.
Yeah, I'm with you though. I could see where that kind of held up the beats a little bit, the flow of the book.
Yeah, but besides that, it was a very linear storyline, and it definitely flowed freely from A to C. And yeah, I was not expecting that, final panel.
Yeah. There's no way anybody was. So how about the dialogue, Bob? You know these characters pretty well. I'm going to let you lead with the dialogue.
Well, considering every time somebody was talking, I was hearing the voices of the cartoon in my head. So that's how I was actually reading it on the page. Or that's how I was reading it in my head, were the voices from the 80s cartoon. But yeah, I could definitely see everybody, saying what they're going to say. Of course, this is a different version than the cartoon. The cartoon, while, I love it. Of course, cartoons in the 80s were, kind of campy, and some of them don't exactly, hold up, well now. But there was a scene when Destro is meeting with Cobra Commander, and off air you actually asked me, is this Cobra Commander? Because all you see is his back, but you see him with his helmet off, a la Darth Vader from Empire Strikes Back.
Yep.
And Destro introduces that gun and Cobra Commander is saying, but we have lots of guns. That's all you do is make guns.
Mm-hmm.
And then Destro says something to the effect of, let's see how good your aim is. And the next thing you see is Cobra Commander holding the gun right under Destro's chin.
Yep.
And that's kind of like, oh, that's a little bit different, character-wise from what I remember. I mean, of course, going from a cartoon to a kid's cartoon to a comic book, I mean, there's going to be some, updating, some new characterization. Just that was a little bit of for me at least, that was a little bit of, oh, that's different.
Yeah, Joshua Williamson is definitely doing his, he's trying to introduce some of his own thing here, and I guess that was part of it. But yeah, that was pretty intense. I'm with you on that. Bob, as far as new characters, I listed off the team that we meet at the beginning: Rock and Roll, Stalker, Cover Girl, Clutch, and Baroness, as well as Duke, of course. Who is the new character in there? Is it one of them or is it someone else?
I believe it's Mercer.
Oh, Mercer. Okay, so the guy that's on the Cobras.
I believe so. Yes.
Okay.
I don't think we've been introduced to him yet. I don't know if we were introduced to him in Destro.
Okay, I got you. Well, actually, here it says his first appearance is in Duke #1. Yeah, so I don't know which character
I'm trying to
has the first appearance. Yeah, me either. I'm kind of just flipping through, just to.
It's got to be somebody on the. Well, maybe it's that character in Abu Dhabi.
Oh, okay, yeah, very well could be. Yeah, that's wow. It's so interesting, and these are just. To me, I wouldn't know. There's so many characters here that I just don't know very well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, super interesting. It doesn't even say on the League of Comic Geeks, whose first appearance it was or anything. So yeah, I'd love to find that information out. If it's like a named character or what or who it is. But yeah, I'll have to do some more deep diving and to figure out who that is. So as far as the narrative of the book, yeah, man, this is the narrative structure here is great. It's a building the team, and really
building the team. Yeah, building the team. Duke has apprehensions on his role as a leader, and the team that he's leading up until this point, thinking that he has to make everybody like him, so they make the right decisions, so they stay alive. And G.I. Joe just being outclassed by Cobra's technology, especially the use of Energon.
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what I really like here is like, they really do let Cobra, let the bad guys kind of end off with the upper hand here, and it's looking pretty bleak. So. Yeah, I like the structure of this. I like the narrative structure. I think it works really, really well. As far as the world building, do you want to touch on that? I think I'd prefer for you to talk about that first before I do, just because you're so familiar with this world.
I mean, I am familiar in this world, but again, this is images telling of G.I. Joe. The G.I. Joe I'm used to, like the Pit, I'm used to something completely different. Of course, I'm not used to Cobra operating out of Mars Industries or anything like that. So, but, I like the world. I mean, it seems... It's different, but it seems familiar.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it definitely makes a lot of sense, especially given what, even the back matter of some of these books and some interviews and stuff I've heard with Joshua Williamson and stuff, like he wants to play in this universe. That's kind of, he grew up on this stuff and he just wants to play in this universe. And I feel like that's what he's doing. So, yeah. Man, I'm having a hell of a time, and I said I'd like let it go and then come back to it later, but I really want to know who this first appearance is, who this new character is here. I'm just not finding that information. Okay, so let's get into art. Tom Riley's art, character art. This is a beautiful book. The art in this is really nice all throughout, so it's going to be tough to find really anything to critique. I really like this stylized, art.
Yeah,
I love the style, and there's so many things done with it. I really like the character art. I think it's top notch, really, really good stuff. What did you think about the characters?
well, I mean, the first thing I'm going to lead off with is if you've read Duke, then you know what the art in this book looks like.
Yeah, exactly.
And we both know what we thought about the art in Duke. I mean, that's saying something. That, I say that Cobra Commander is probably my favorite book, but I mean, you said overall Duke is probably your favorite book.
Yeah, I really like
books
Duke.
the G.I. Joe books that we've covered so far. So again, I mean, if you've read Duke, then you know what to expect art wise, and of course, we love the character art in Duke. So yeah, I'm with you. I really like the whole stylized kind of art in this. I love Tom Riley's art style.
Yeah, I would love to see. I mean, I know obviously a comic book illustrator and animator, usually two very different people, but I would love to see this kind of art adapted into like an animated series. It just looks so great. I think I'd love to see that on screen. But yeah, this is a huge 10 out of 10 for me on the character art. How about the backgrounds? Of course, Bob. Bob is the background snob. That's what he's been. It rhymed, so I thought I'd go with it. But yeah, background's very important to Bob in a comic book. They're very individual to the book, and it just depends on so many factors. Of course, we know just flipping through this book, there's a lot of packed backgrounds, and then there's a lot of solid color backgrounds and stuff that work for the mood. What did you think about the backgrounds of this book, Bob?
Yeah, I mean, I thought, the solid color backgrounds you're talking about is pretty much where they, focus on the character. And for the most part, even in those solid color backgrounds, I mean, they still have something in the background. I mean, whether it be, whether it just be the outline of clouds or a vehicle or, something like that. But there's not really a whole lot of, just solid color backgrounds. And even at that, the background, I mean, just the background colors are so, just pretty, and I mean, just colored well, that I mean, it's not like, oh, just a solid background. Oh geez, this is ugly.
Yeah, I like the backgrounds here. I think that they work really, really well. Again, I'm a huge fan of Tom Riley's art style in these books. So yeah, they work very well for me. The locations, Bob, I don't know, we go all over the place in this book. We're somewhere, then we go to Springfield, then we go to Abu Dhabi, then we go all over the place, Bob. I think the locations work really well. They really help tell the story and what's going on. A book like this where you have showcased your heroes and your villains in different layers and everything. And yeah, I think the locations work really, really well here. Again, you're more familiar with a lot of these locations, so I would love it if you have anything to say, go ahead.
Well, I'm definitely going to start off by saying I love the juxtaposition between the idyllic, suburban locale of Springfield and how it basically houses, Cobra's base of operations. I mean, it's kind of like you get, an idyllic looking cul-de-sac suburb of Springfield housing a violent militant group like Cobra.
Yeah.
I mean, I just love the juxtaposition on that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree. That's something I hadn't really thought about, but yeah, really, really cool.
Yeah.
Now, of course, the last category we talk about before we recommend the book or not is colors, and those are by Jordi Belair, the all-star colorist of all time in comics. Yeah, man, the colors, I love the colors here. They just look so good. There's so much going on with them, and each place has its own color scheme, each scene. They work really, really well. We got some really cool earthy tones for a bit. Whenever we move to Abu Dhabi, I love the colors there. That just looks so cool.
Yeah, that kind of washed out orange color.
And then, I mean, it's like, and I'm not only going to credit Jordi Belair because I do think she's amazing, but I'll also give some credit to Tom here, for laying the groundwork. But just some of these scenes, like the final panel and stuff, just I don't understand how they're doing this with art. Like it's like it's so much more than just 2-dimensional on paper. Like they're doing a lot with this. It's really, really good. The colors really work really, really well here. I like them a lot. Yeah, and again, Bob, if you have anything you want to say about the colors, feel free.
No, I think we've said it all. I think Jordi Belair's colors speak for themselves.
Yeah, hard to touch Jordi. So
Yeah, and I mean, considering this is definitely not the first time we've seen Jordi Belair doing colors on a G.I. Joe book.
Yeah, not the first, hopefully not the last. So, yeah.
So I say the real American heroes are in good hands with this creative team.
Yeah, I think so. Bob, again, okay, I'll say this. I definitely like this book enough to move on to issue number 2. I think that it is a very well-written book. It's beautifully done. It just pops in all the right places, and it's very, very interesting. Something that I get scared of when I hear G.I. Joe or Transformers. Not that I have any problem with that stuff, but it's just there's so many incarnations of it, and it's just there's so much information to know and all of that, and like you can go into this completely blind and really enjoy it. So I did enjoy it a lot, and I will definitely
you definitely can.
Yeah, I'll definitely read issue number 2. What did you think, Bob?
So I'm going to try as hard as I can to take my biased opinion out of the picture because, growing up on G.I. Joe, I mean, of course, you pretty much know my opinion.
Yep.
That being said, I love G.I. Joe, but honestly, if it had fallen flat, then, I definitely would have said something, but especially with this creative team, I think they knocked issue 1 out of the park.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really interested to see, what happened with rock and roll in the second issue. What the Energon rifles actually did to him. If that's the end of his story, and I mean, that's even saying that. There's characters out there, there's major characters out there they haven't even introduced yet.
And that was something I was going to ask you. That was a question that I had. Do they continue to build this team? Like, is that how it works in G.I. Joe? Or do you expand? Or is this the core team that we're getting? How does that work, in G.I. Joe world?
My guess, like any other comic book team, it's going to continue to build and subtract. I mean, it's very interesting to me that Baroness is on side of the Joes right now.
Okay.
She's always been, steadfast Cobra.
So she's not even like a waffler. She usually is on Cobra, or is always on Cobra.
She I can't say always. I mean, she has teamed up with the Joes every now and again, but to suit her own means.
Okay, gotcha. When does Snake Eyes come into play, Bob? Where's Snake Eyes?
I'm wondering where Scarlet is.
Very interesting.
I figured, they would have introduced her considering she got her own miniseries.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, very true. Bob, the last question I'm going to ask you before we, take a break and move on here is, what cover did you go with?
So hold on. Let me grab it. Mm-hmm. I don't know what cover you went for, but I went with so actually, I'm getting two covers.
Oh, okay.
Because our local comic shop in Jacksonville, Florida, Gotham City Limits, mm-hmm. has an exclusive by, all-star artist Tyler Kirkham, which mm-hmm. was delayed by a week.
Yeah.
So I got the Jenny Frison cover.
Yeah. Very nice cover. I opted for the David Finch, and it's a lot of people on this cover, but dude, I don't know. I'm going to show it to you on screen there if you want to check it out, but I opted for this cover. It just something about it like really spoke to me. I really love the art mm-hmm. on that cover. So yeah, that's the one I went with.
I just figured, since you're a big Jenny Frison fan, mm-hmm. if you saw that, if they had any left, if you saw that cover, you would have snagged it up in a heartbeat.
Yeah, there's just some great covers on this book. It's really hard to choose, but I just went ahead and went with that one. I honestly thought it was the A cover at first, but now I'm seeing why it's not, because we kind of have the villain team showcased on the cover of this one instead of the Joes.
You're right.
Yeah, right. Really, really cool. Well, with that being said, Bob, let's take another quick break. We'll return and talk about some new comic books that are in shops next week. Hello and welcome back to the all-new, all-different number one comics podcast, issue number 96. Bob, let's talk about some new comics that are dropping in shops next week. But before we do that, we got to do disclaimer time. Welcome to disclaimer time. Hey, very important special message from disclaimer time with Bob.
So you're saying a PSA?
Yeah, it's a PSA with Bob. Come on.
See, after this, knowing is going to be half the battle.
It's 1/3 of the battle.
But like I say this and every other week, these are just some of the books that may or may not be coming to your local comic shop. So be prepared for always be prepared for disappointment when it comes to comics.
That doesn't sound fun, Bob. I don't want to be disappointed with my comics.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, things happen, distributors miss the deadline, they damage comics. It happens all the time.
You're not wrong.
Especially at our comic shop. But, if you want a more in-depth list of comics that may or may not be coming out next week, all of these, call your local comic shop. Please and thank you go a long way.
True.
Of course, you have the other avenues. I mean, you got Harry Potter Owl. You have John Wick Tube System.
Yep.
You have tin cans on a very, very long string.
Oh yeah, that's a good
what else do you want to add this week?
I'm and keeping in theme with the book we were covering. I like the abstract, Energon. I don't know exactly what Energon is. We've been reading these Energon universe books, and I know it's a thing, but I don't know exactly what Energon is. I'm hoping we'll get some kind of origin issue that explains Energon a little bit better at some point, but go find some radioactive goo, I guess, and rub it on your phone or something and see where it takes you. I don't know. Don't do that. Probably no radioactive goo.
So what you're saying is turn your phone into a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
Not a bad idea. But yeah, maybe it is a bad idea.
Well, I mean, did you ever see the first Transformers from Michael Bay? The only one that he did?
Yep.
Do you remember that scene where they shoot the Nokia with the shard of the spark and the Nokia becomes the Transformer?
Yep.
I'm imagining something like that would happen if you spread radioactive slime on it.
Yeah, probably not a great idea. You're right.
Yeah, probably not a good idea. We don't need sentient phones. I mean, phones are already pretty much becoming sentient as it is with AI technology and ChatGPT and all that kind of stuff.
Well, yeah, there you go. Use some AI. Ask ChatGPT to tell you what new comic books are coming out.
There you go. So, starting off the list to get off the AI subject, because we all know Skynet is inevitable. We have from Marvel Comics, yes, the House of Ideas, we have Avengers Assemble #3.
Avengers Assemble. Bob, this is the first team appearance of the Night Stalkers. Voracious, Coma, Abby Morris, Frank Drake, and Bloodscreen, along with the first appearance of Titano Boa.
Yes. I just want to point out that, so I don't know exactly how these people got their names.
Yeah, likewise.
But you have Frank Drake, Abby Morris, and then you have Voracious, Coma, and Bloodscreen. How do Frank Drake and Abby Morris fit in that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's almost like you're meeting everybody for the first time. You're like, hey, how you doing? My name's Frank. And then you're like, oh, my name's
Coma.
Yeah, I'm Voracious. Okay, did your parents name you that? Like, is that on your birth certificate? That's pretty weird. Abby, go hide in the corner away from Bloodscreen, please.
I was gonna say, is it first name Blood, last name Scream?
Oh God, that's terrifying.
From going to Dark Horse Comics, we have Barstow #1.
Speaking of dark, Bob, something dark lurks beneath an oddball town where a special agent tries to find a missing colleague whom she never met. Yet her name was the only clue he left behind.
So how does she know he's missing if she's never met him?
I don't know. This is an interesting one. I'm really digging the cover. I don't know if you looked at the cover of this one, but man, that's scary.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me. The torso in high school science with the yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
The little plasticky one with the removable parts. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you can take out the liver and you can take out the pancreas and the intestine.
Yep.
That guy always had the same look on his face. Every once in a while, I wanted them to make one of those torsos with like a surprised look on his face.
Yeah, the guy is like, "Hey, quit pulling out my liver, weirdo."
Pretty much. So, I'm just gonna ask you now: how many copies of this next book are you gonna get?
Oh man,
you stopped getting these books.
Yeah, I think I gave up on these. I'm not gonna lie.
From the House of Ideas Marvel Comics, we have a one-shot. We have What If Minnie Became Captain Marvel #1.
Bob, what if Minnie did become Captain Marvel? That would be really weird.
Yeah, that would be really, really weird.
It's almost like I don't know why that would happen.
I mean, who was it? Didn't Donald become Wolverine?
Yep.
So, I mean, who knows?
Who knows what these people are doing?
Besides the fact that Disney owns Marvel, so they can pretty much do whatever they want.
Yep, true.
Going back to Dark Horse Comics, yes, we have Dark Horse more than once on this list. We have Embocado #1.
Well, I'm glad you said it, Bob. A nameless woman will fight not only to secure her place among the Embocado, the greatest warriors in all of... nope.
I'm gonna say Indawu.
Sure. but also to protect the queen, the empire, and the freedom of those who will live there. Bob, I have no idea what the hell this comic book is saying that it's about. It looks insane from the cover. These don't look like people.
It kind of sounds like a reimagining of Japanese samurai, actually.
Maybe something like that. Yeah, I'm not too sure what's going on. I'm not very well cultured, so we'll see.
From next up on the list, from Keen Spot, we have Mark Spears' Monsters #2.
Yeah, remember how hot the first book of this was? It like sold out really quick, and everybody was trying to get copies. And then we got that second print of issue #1, had a really cool like trick or treat cover, and then that ended up being an error cover. So yeah, this book is just riddled with lots and lots of things to make it more popular. So this is issue #2. This is a second issue of a series that produced an unexpected popular premiere issue. Love that saying there. But yeah, this is cool. It's got some great cover art. Hopefully I can get a copy. We'll see.
And surprisingly, this next comic book imprint is just now making its first appearance on this list. From the redundant comic book company, Detective Comics, we have Milestone Universe, The Shadow Cabinet #1.
Yeah, this one, Rocket attempts to recruit a team to battle System. I don't know what any of that means. I don't know who Rocket is. Tune in to find out. It's not Rocket Raccoon.
No. I know she was. I know she was used in the Justice League cartoon.
Okay.
But yeah, she comes from the. She comes from the same universe as Icon.
Oh, okay. The Milestone. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what this is. Milestone Universe. Okay, I got you. It makes sense now.
Next up from Dark Horse Comics. Yes, Dark Horse makes a third appearance. You Never Heard of Me #1.
A teenager struggles with the burden of having the ability to touch someone and see both their best and worst moment in their life, past, present, or future. That's an interesting concept.
I was going to say that would be horrible.
Yeah.
So if you touched a death row inmate, you could see them being born, getting married, and then you could see them, committing whatever heinous crime they did at the same time.
Oh, man. That's terrible.
Ugh, that would be horrible. Next up from the House of Ideas, we have one of the best titles, in my opinion, of 2024. We have Phases of the Moon Knight #4.
Bob, this one's got the first appearance of Nakia, a Moon Knight from ancient Egypt. And a really cool cover.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, it really is. I love Khonshu's design where he just has, kind of like that floating head kind of thing.
Yeah, me too. Really cool.
Going back to Detective Comics, the comic book company with 3 characters, we have Question, All Along the Watchtower.
Hey, this is a different character. This is a premiere issue with Renee Montoya as the Question, investigating a murder at the headquarters of the Justice League Unlimited.
Yes. We have a series that I'm pretty sure you picked up. From the House of Ideas, we have Scarlet Witch #6.
The first full appearance of Amaranth cameo in Crypt of Shadows #1. Sorry, I'm relatively sure I did not say that name correctly, but you already know.
Yeah, I mean, we all know by now that you really don't say any names correctly, so we kind of expect it by now. It's kind of your calling card.
Yeah, true.
Next up from IDW, we have Sonic the Hedgehog, Knuckles 30th Anniversary Special #1.
Bob, the original story celebrating the 30th anniversary of Knuckles.
That is a very anime-inspired comic book cover.
Yeah.
I mean, very anime.
Definitely looks like an anime.
Next up from Mad Cave Comics, boy, we're getting a lot of smaller ones in here, aren't we?
I like that.
I mean, Mad Cave, Keen Spot. Even Dark Horse, which is a bigger, smaller one. I guess if that makes sense. But from Mad Cave, we have Spectrum #1.
A woman struggling with her sanity encounters an entity who can alter reality through music, which awakens suppressed memories from across vast spans of time, bringing her identity into question. Holy crap, what did I just read?
I was going to say that is a very interesting. That is another very interesting concept.
Yeah, no lie.
From Marvel Comics, we have Star Wars: The Battle of Jakku, Republic Under Siege #1.
Yes, Bob, it's Star Wars time again. The origin of Luke Skywalker's new Jedi Order, one of 3 limited series that will tell the story of the Battle of Jakku, the final battle of the Galactic Civil War set between the original trilogy of films and the sequel trilogy.
Right. So, I mean, this basically, and there's going to be one more after this. This is basically the next 3 in. It's going to be pretty much the same story, but it's kind of a sequel to Insurgency. Next up from Marvel Comics, we have Storm #2.
Yeah, can I just say this is the debut of a new Storm suit, 1, but #2, Bob, whatever Storm is going through on the cover of this book is just really bothering me like a lot. It looks like she's being pulled underwater by some like black hands. There's like a snake wrapped around her. There's like millipedes or centipedes or something on her. There's a spider on her cheek. There's smoke all around her head. I don't know what's going on here, man. And it looks like her hands are pressed up against glass. So what are they doing to Storm?
That is a really creepy cover. That is a horror cover if I've ever seen.
Right? Leave Storm alone. Like, what did she do? Jeez.
Yeah, that's true. Going back to IDW, we have which I'm surprised I haven't run out of ideas to cross over.
Right?
We have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Naruto #1.
Yeah, this is the crossover of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Naruto. I'm going to say this. I'm going to be pissed until we get a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Peanuts crossover. I just want to see Snoopy and Charlie Brown and everybody that crossover with the Turtles. Why can't that happen? I know IDW's listening. I know that somebody heard it now and it's going to happen.
Well, I kind of want Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to cross over with the Smurfs, and just have a interaction between Raphael and Grumpy.
Why not the Snorks, Bob?
The Snork. Why not Fraggle Rock?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one too. Oh, God.
Or why not Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Sectars?
Yeah, that one makes too much sense. I don't think that would work.
Yeah, well, I mean, one can only dream.
Yeah.
Next up from Marvel Comics, we have Ultimate Spider-Man #11.
The first cover appearance of Ultimate Black Cat with a brief interior appearance. Wow. Thank God.
And finally, rounding out the list, we have from the House of Ideas, the comic book company with more than 3 characters. We have Wolverine #3.
Yeah, and on the cover of that book, it doesn't look good for those dudes. That's all I'm going to say. Go check out the cover to see what I'm talking about. Scary. Bob, we've got 3 books on the wheel. Of course, the wheel brought to you by the lovely wheelofnames.com. I'm just going to pretend like we're sponsored by, it makes me feel better. Even though Wheel of Names has not reached out to us as of yet. Wheelofnames.com for all of your wheel needs. Guys, make sure you use the promo code BOBISCOOL for a discount on all of your wheel customization. We're going to spin this thing and see where it lands. Bob, of course, we have the question along the Watchtower, the Rockefellers, and Barstow #1. But it looks like we're headed back to Ghost Machine territory with the Rockefellers #1. That's the book we'll be covering. Yeah, this will be a very interesting pick. Bob, I think that about wraps up the show. Sorry, continue.
I definitely have enjoyed Redcoat so far. So, reading more Ghost Machine, I'm not disappointed by that choice.
Well, and Hyde Street is phenomenal. I really like that a lot. That's a cool Ghost Machine book as well. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Of course, check us out on social media. We're all new, all different #1 Comics podcast. You can find us on all the places you find things. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will see you next time.